So the First Descendant devs dropped Hotfix 1.2.2, and this is the last patch for the year. And good news, it comes with some pretty good stuff, including buffs to both Sharen and Keelan and some other new features you're gonna want to know about. Let's jump into it.
Wait, did we just become best friends? So nice to meet you. I think you're cool.
So this just went live in the middle of the day here. It's December 18th. Some really cool features I think a lot of you are going to appreciate. One of them is that they balanced the intercept battles. So Molten Fortress and Gluttony intercept battles have been changed to allow for solo matchmaking. I'm excited to give that a try myself. And the following nerfs have been applied to Molten Fortress and Gluttony. So they made it so that the towers, once you have them linked, they cannot be unlinked. So with one of the patches that happened this season, they made the dial on those towers go faster, but you can accidentally overshoot that dial. So now what they did is they allowed it to link and then it's locked in. And then they adjusted the number of roly-polies summoned by the fortress from 8 to 4, so they cut that in half. It's 6 now during the frenzied state. He now enters the frenzied state less frequently, which is good. I was noticing he was going in there a lot sometimes with Haley's. So Gluttony, they adjusted the impurity to be drawn to Gluttony when they are within a 15-meter radius of Gluttony. That's gonna be a lot easier. So basically he's gonna be a big magnet and you just don't have to be as accurate with getting those impurities towards him. I'm sure Volby is still the go-to there. So they adjusted the amount of the wipe attack gauge that increases when the unstable energy is absorbed by Gluttony from 20 to 10%. So basically it's gonna take twice as long for him to fill his gauge. And then unstable energy explosions required to cancel the frenzied state now doubled, making it easier to cancel. That's great. Gluttony now moves around the center of the map more frequently, and they adjusted the cooldown of Gluttony's melee attack, raking the ground with its arm from 5 to 20 seconds. Cool, so we can get closer to him more often. And then they adjusted Gluttony's basic shotgun attack so that it can be used at close range. Okay, look out for that. And then Gluttony now enters the frenzied state less frequently also, and they reduce Gluttony's attack by 47%. Wow, that's fantastic because he was hitting really hard, right? On a side note, anybody else notice that Deathstalker is now a pain in the ass to fight in public lobbies, which is the only way to fight Deathstalker? She one-taps now. I go in there with super builds, you know, Enzo and Eugen, and Deathstalker can one-tap them with over 20 million in shields. It's nuts. She's hitting really hard right now. It's kind of annoying. So they balanced the reactors. So basically what they did is, you know how sometimes you'd be farming for like an electric reactor and the substat would give you something that didn't make sense like toxic. So that's no longer possible. If there's an element that's going to show up in the sub attributes, it's going to match. And by doing this, they just made it easier to farm for the stats that you're looking for on your reactor because they decreased the stat pool. All right, listen up because this is the good stuff. So for Sharon's cloaking capability, they adjusted the duration when using the ambush mod from 4 to 6 seconds. That's amazing. And then they adjusted the cooldown of some of Keelan's skills as well. So Septic Gust, which is his AoE attack, they cut almost in half. That's a big drop. On Tremor, which is his ultimate, his number 4, they cut it from 80 seconds to 60 seconds. These are the base stats. Remember, we're running max cooldown on Keelan, so these get really low now. I'm impressed. Call me crazy, but I'm one of the ones that actually likes Keelan, even before the buffs. Hey, if you don't like Keelan, I'm not going to talk you into it. I didn't think they were going to do this round, but it's awesome that they did because our next update isn't going to come until after the new year. So they adjusted his, so we have 2 of them. One is called Focus on Prey and the other one is Mobile Strike. So let's talk about Focus on Prey first. So here, Void Corrosion is modified to target a single enemy. So we're talking about his first skill, his rockets, with an increase in the number of projectiles fired, increase the maximum stack count of acidic erosion, which is now to 20. So you can stack 20 acidic erosions, and those acidic erosions can come from any of his skills. But basically the idea here is to load up on a heavy or a boss. All right, so Focus on Prey. Adjust the damage per acidic decay stack of Tremor. So the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 thing, these aren't like levels that you have to build up. This is as you unlock him for the first time. So let's just go ahead and focus on level 4. So they increased it from 495% to 692. That's huge. And then there's more. They adjusted the cooldown of his number 1 skill, Void Corrosion, from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, 20% decrease. And then they adjusted his Mobile Strike too. Let's take a look at that one. Septic Gust, so this is his 3rd skill, his AoE one, is adjusted to deal no damage, and it grants the adventurer's spirit effect to self, preventing onslaught stack reduction during the effect duration and applying corrosion acceleration to pierce targets. The idea of Mobile Strike is for him to never run out of onslaught, which is his #1 skill. And then apparently they increase the corrosion acceleration. So corrosion acceleration is his toxicity, right? So his imbue rate is 45%. The duration is half a second. This is at base. And the damage for this is skill power by 342% modifier. And the range is at 4.5%. And then the max expandable range is 250%. And then notice the acidic erosion stacks are at 20. So the reason why Mobile Strike wasn't really worth it in the past, in my opinion, and not everybody will agree with me on this one, but his Septic Gust is actually pretty good. You're losing that for the ability to have more, or the possibility of never ending onslaught, which is his best skill. So you were sacrificing that, but the hunting time effect has a really long cooldown and the duration was 3 seconds. And so you could barely, at best, get 2 dashes in during that duration, and it just really didn't feel like it was worth it. So they fixed a bunch of things here. Let's take a closer look. So they adjusted the cooldown of the hunting time skill from 150 to 55 seconds. It's 1/3 of the cooldown than it was before. Now that's at base, remember, because I think you can decrease this. And then adjusted the duration of the adventurous spirit effect of hunting time from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I did quickly test this and it does feel like a lot. And it is now affected by the skill duration increase stat. And then there's one caveat, and I believe this is temporary. The devs told us during the last live stream that one of the problems with giving Keelan infinite dashes is that there's no real ceiling limit in the game. So he could literally dash into outer space with this skill. And so what they've done temporarily is made it so that adventurer's spirit cannot work to elevate him, but I believe once they implement the ceiling in the game, they will allow him to use Mobile Strike or adventurer's spirit to increase in elevation. They also decreased the delay after pressing the skill button so that you can consecutively dash faster and get more dashes in that 4 seconds. So let me demonstrate this one because it's kind of a big deal. I think this one is now going to be on the table. So now you can see I no longer have Septic Gust. Instead, I have hunting time. So for the duration of 4 seconds, I will have infinite dashes. And I believe that can be increased. Okay, I just swapped out a damage skill for maximized duration there. It does. So it increased it to 5.6 seconds. And that's just with one duration thing. Okay, now let's see how it actually works. So what we can do is dash just like normal, right? And then we can activate that. And then we could dash infinitely. Notice that it's not eating any stacks. That's crazy. Now it's expired. Now I could replenish. And crazy. And look at the cooldown. It's coming back, right? So you can run out. We did run out. But if we were piercing actual targets, then I wouldn't, right? That's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. I mean, you're basically infinite as long as you're doing this in combat. So here's the thing about the elevation. Let me just show you that real quick. Let me get some energy. So as you can see right now, I can fly to the sky, right? That's because I did not have the adventurous spirit active. I'm gonna activate it. And now I'm gonna try to jump up and it won't let me. So it keeps me to the ground. Can we jump and activate it in the air once we're in the air? It works. So it's still functional in the air. You just can't continue to climb. Okay, one more test. Let's use a grappling hook now. Yeah, good. Wow, this is quite amazing, I gotta say. I can't wait to use it. All right, let's talk about content. They added a start private operation for special ops. Yes. But the difficulty level will not be adjusted according to the number of players. So only the individual party that has applied to enter will be able to participate in the special op. Wow, that's really cool. So you're gonna get the same level of difficulty, really putting your build to the test. And then they changed the sphere mechanic of commander monsters that appear in the following content to the monster extermination mechanic. There's a bunch of these, so I'm not gonna read them all off. Either way, that's an improvement because killing monsters are better than shooting those balls all the time. The amorphous patterns that were excluded exclusive to outposts in each zone can now be earned in selectable rewards and infiltration operations in the same zone. So they did match the zones for those. I was curious. Upon completing a mission on normal difficulty, you can earn 1. And then upon completing a mission on hard difficulty, you can earn up to 2 patterns depending on your total score based on the kill score multiplier. Falling or canceling grappling hooks no longer counts as a jump. That's good. Okay, here's another big one. They added the quick turn option for controller players. This isn't going to be set by default in the game. You're going to have to set it manually. And if you already have the sprint set as your primary movement option, they recommend to use the L3 button for your controller to make this feature easier to use. But first, before we get into that, let me show you how to do this. If you go into your start menu and then to options and then scroll over to controller here, you're gonna need to go from normal button settings to user settings. So I already changed mine. You do have other options like default, for example, or left-handed. What you're gonna do is customize this setting. So it's all the way at the very bottom here. So I changed mine to the down pad, and there's a very specific reason. So they suggest that you do the left click on your joystick, which is also called L3, but that came with a problem. And so let me explain what that problem is. So I'm gonna go ahead and unequip this, and then this is what they suggest. And so it's gonna be both sprint and quick turn. Let's go ahead and save that. But if you go into gameplay, notice that my default movement speed is sprint. And then if you left click, who will run? And if you left click again, it puts it back to sprint. As you can see, my character is sprinting, and then now he's running. It's actually conflicting. So even though I have it set to default, it's overriding the default. Here he's sprinting, and then when I do a quick turn, now he's running. It's much slower, right? That's really annoying. So I decided not to use that button and use the down pad for my controller. But let me show you how this works, and this will be handy on all the Fast Descendants. So like Viesa could be good, Bunny for sure, but check this out. So when you dash, you could rotate and then dash again. So dash and rotate, dash. Now, as you can see, I'm running instead of sprinting, which sucks. So if I dash and then rotate again, now I'm sprinting. So let's fix that. This is what I did. I'm gonna select this, and then I go down and then save. So now I can rotate and I'm still sprinting. And then I can dash, rotate, dash, and I'm still sprinting. Now I must tell you that I'm running an Xbox Elite controller, so I have paddles, so it's a little bit smoother for me. If I didn't use the paddles, it would look like this. So there's a slight little delay in there because I'm not using the left click. Now let me do it with the paddle. In my opinion, what should happen is if I set my default speed to sprint, it should be locked in. Run shouldn't even be an option. I think I would like to see that. All right, back to the notes. When a commander's monster's phase changes, the movement location guide is now displayed for a longer duration. And then the difficulty of the Volby Evolving Skin quest has been reduced. So hopefully that helps. Then they fixed an issue with Jaber's turrets, and these had to do with his purge code skill. They fixed an issue where the effect of the Descendant Ultimate Module MP Collector would sometimes not activate. Here's one that was bugging me. So they fixed an issue where entering the game through the go to last played map, usually because the game crashed, would reset your junk filter. And then you'd have to go back through and remember what your settings were, which was annoying. So that's it for now, but I can't wait to dig in deeper and see how our builds are performing with these new changes. But I want to hear, what do you think about these changes for Keelan? Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Tuxedo Bandido. That's Tito Bandido.
One and only.
And this was another episode of The First Descendant. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The First Descendant. And if you like videos like this, check out the one I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
When you buy or download anything for The First Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Follow me.